But you can't buy the best properties in the best locations really cheap. It doesn't work. It's like they're the best location for a reason. A lot of people want them. And so you as a high earner can afford to buy, pay up. You can do what Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger always said. Instead of trying to buy a bad business at a great price or a bad property at a great price, they would buy a great property, a great location at a fair price. Like, so it might be, maybe you're in it for 85, 90%, maybe 100%, but you put a big down payment and you hold on to it. And over the long run, the rents go up, the price goes up, your mortgage cost is fixed, and then eventually you pay it off.
I have a surprising fact for you, and you're not going to like it. A lot of you, many of you, should be doing less with real estate investing. Now, what do I mean by less? We're going to have a conversation with the one and only Coach Carson about the simple fact that maybe your real estate investing journey should be simpler, not more complicated. Chad, what do you got?
Well, I'm gonna take a little off-road here. I'm gonna tell a football story. So if those of you who don't like football, stick with me for a minute. But I'm gonna get back to real estate because it matters. I used to play football at Clemson University. You can see my helmets in the background. And when I played in 1998 through 2001, the best team that we played was Florida State University. They were like number 1, 2, or 3 every year. So the best team in the ACC that I played in won the national championship, that kind of stuff. But that was really interesting because I played defense. I studied film on Florida State and their offense. They had the best players, the best wide receivers, the best quarterback, but they ran the simplest offensive plays you could imagine. Like it was easy. Like watching film was like, okay, they got like 7 plays. They just run these over and over again.
But they're really, really good at them.
But it blew my mind. I was like, that doesn't make sense to me because we were playing other teams that were not quite as athletic as them, not quite as good, who would have all these motions and moving stuff, and they ran 150 plays, and it makes sense. And I asked my coach about it. He's like, the point is they know that they're bigger than you, faster than you, stronger than you. So all they're going to do is they just practice the plays they do run, and they do them really well over and over and over again. And they beat everybody. They did really well. And I apply that to real estate investing. I think for many of you watching here, that if you make good income at your normal day job, you're a W-2 earner, if you don't have that much time to invest in real estate, then there's a lot of strategies which are just the equivalent of the football, all the smoke and mirrors, all the crazy movement and all that stuff. You should just be doing some simple stuff. You shouldn't be doing the burst strategy. You shouldn't be doing seller financing. You shouldn't be trying to spend all your time doing that. I think you should be doing the boring, put 30% down, buy a turnkey property in a good location. The cash-on-cash return is going to be pretty crappy. It's not going to be that impressive, but you're going to buy and hold, and you're going to save more money, and you're going to do it again. And I know this is, for those of you who've read One Rental at a Time or read my Small and Mighty book, this is not going to be a surprise to you, but I feel like too many people are getting enticed by these shiny objects when you're an all-star, you're making good income. That's your ticket to the game. That's why you're a champion, not because you can do all these crazy impressive things, which I had to do, by the way, when I started, because I didn't have any money and I was just graduated from college, but I had to do that. Like I was the equivalent of the bad team in the ACC who had to do all that stuff. If you're already you have the most money, you make good money, but you don't have much time, you should be doing the simple, boring stuff.
Man, I simply love this concept because, again, you and I are helping people all over. We get bombarded with folks, doing different things. And I got to tell you, if you do make a lot of money, and you're able to save money, doing it the boring route is okay. Yes, I know it's sexy to talk sub-2 or land contract or seller financing or any of this. And one rental at a time, you're absolutely right. That's who Olivia and I were. Right? We found a way. I was a commission-based salesperson. I worked at enterprise software, which means if you hit your quota, you make an okay living. And we just ratcheted our expenses down to the bare bones, which left disposable income. That disposable income stacked, and we bought just boring, right? 25% down, 30-year financing. 25% down, 30-year financing. And I was completely okay with that strategy. In fact, we got to the goal of 8 within like 3 years. And that was awesome. Now, obviously, the journey has twists and turns after that. But I just got to tell you, and if you're a doctor, an engineer, salesperson, I mean, if you're stacking disposable cash, You already have a stressful life. It's already busy. There's nothing wrong with boring and simple. You're so right.
I'll give you another story. I think your example is a perfect one. My mom was a dentist. She earned a really good living as a dentist. She was an excellent kind of small town dentist, makes multiple six figures. My dad was originally a CPA, but he got into real estate investing. So they had a partnership where she made really good income. He helped her manage the practice, and then he invested the money into boring, mainly single family houses. He bought a couple little duplexes here and there, but eventually he went back to almost all single family houses. And over a 20-year period, 30-year period, they accumulated 60 plus rental properties and some land. And then when my mom was ready to retire, they developed some of the land, sold that. They sold a few rental properties. They paid off the debt on everything else. And now they live off this boring single family house. They have more income than they could spend, in retirement.
That's an amazing story.
And I'm telling you, it's the people who make a lot of money. The secret is to buy things that aren't going to stress you out, that aren't going to get you off the train. You just need to put big down payments, buy quality properties. But the cool thing is you can afford to do that. Like all the scrappy investors like me, I was going for these high return on investment, the properties I could buy really cheap. But you can't buy the best properties in the best locations really cheap. It doesn't work. It's like they're the best location for a reason. A lot of people want them. And so you as a high earner can afford to buy, pay up. You can do what Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger always said. Instead of trying to buy a bad business at a great price or a bad property at a great price, they would buy a great property, a great location at a fair price. Like, so it might be, maybe you're in it for 85, 90%, maybe 100%, but you put a big down payment and you hold on to it. And over the long run, the rents go up, the price goes up, your mortgage cost is fixed, and then eventually you pay it off. And that's the formula. It doesn't have to get much more complicated than that.
I love this conversation because, again, one of the battles that I have in my internal head, right? Because you're in this social media game. You start to run into a bunch of entrepreneurs, right? The Ryan Pinedas, all those kind of guys, and I got to tell you, sometimes I am distracted by like that shiny object of kind of go big and lever up, never stop, all of that, and I just step back going, that's not the quality of life I want, right? To your point, right? You have an income that maybe it's 30 homes and it just pays for your existence. You don't have to go big. Stop comparing yourself to others, which is something I still find myself doing. So I'm looking myself in the mirror when I'm having this conversation. But yeah, if you have high income, I think this is the point. If you have a high income, you can have some disposable income. Your real estate journey should be boring, and be comfortable with boring. Some people say boring and slow, like the tortoise and the hare. You don't have to be the hare. The tortoise wins. The tortoise wins. God damn it.
Yeah, exactly. I know some people have to hack their psychology because I think the hack is you want to do the exciting thing. So maybe you need to give yourself a little 10% of your wealth, this little fund where you can go buy tech stocks and use your genius to go do what you think you're going to do, but then buy the boring stuff that's actually going to get you there. Don't find your excitement in investments. Find your excitements in like going rent a Ferrari for the weekend or go drive on a racetrack. Like there's other stuff. Jump out of an airplane if you want with a parachute. Hopefully, do that kind of stuff. But don't try to get excitement from your investments.
No, and the last thing I'll talk about is time. This is the big thing that I hear from people who are like, Michael, I have a high stress job just like you did in the beginning, but I'm looking at this. I've joined the sub-2 community. I'm doing seller financing. I'm sending mailers like Jason Pritchard. I have a virtual assistant like like Omar, and I'm like, dude, you still have 24 hours in the day. You spend 12 of it at work. You spend 7 of it sleeping. Stop. Less complicated, less shiny. Just go get again, what did I do? I had a buy box, 93703, single family homes, 4 or 5 bedrooms, under 1,200 square feet, single story. Chad, that is all I looked at for 3 years. That's like 0.5% of a market. But damn it, I knew that market, that buy box better than anybody else. It's okay to be boring and slow.
Yeah, it worked pretty well. I don't know.
Yeah. I got receipts. The receipts look okay.
Yeah, you wrote the book, you did the thing, you got it worked. I mean, but I think part of our job, Michael, is just figuring out sexy ways to talk about boring things. That's the name of the game. It's the psychology of money that Morgan Housel wrote about. It's like you just gotta, in stock market, index funds beat everybody else hands down all the time. Low fees, own the old market. In real estate, boring. Residential single family properties with safe long-term leverage with big down payments, it beats everybody. It's the tortoise. And you can have all those shiny objects and all that stuff too, but the people I know who are wealthy, who just bought those properties, one property a year, are now very, very wealthy. They've done really well.
Folks, Chad and I, the Small and Mighty Investor, one rental at a time community, want to give you permission to be the tortoise. Yep. You don't have to be the hare. Chad, give us some closing thoughts, and where can people find you?
I hang out every week on all the social medias lately, Twitter in particular, and YouTube, of course. So check out my YouTube channel. Just search for Coach Carson. I got a new episode every Monday. And if you want to get some kind of random weekly thoughts from me on real estate investing, financial freedom, behind the scenes, you can get on my newsletter. And you can do that at coachcarson.com/newsletter.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Michael.